Good morning, Read 180 students. Today is Tuesday, November 24th, and we will be continuing our lesson on Workshop 4 with looking at a poem today. Now, you're going to notice in today's agenda, I do want you to check your student view for missing assignments. I know some of you have submitted some late work. You'll need to give me a day or two to just get that corrected and updated. But you guys know what you have submitted. Now, today you'll need a pencil, your binder, and your real book. You'll do the daily check-in, the bell work, week 9, day 2, and then we're going to be working out of pages 220, 221. Then the second part of the class, which is after we get done with our Zoom meeting, or if you're listening to this, you'll complete 20 minutes of software and independent reading for 20 minutes. Now, your learning target for today is figuring out how the figurative or under the surface meaning of words and phrases in a poem. And reminders, remember we're not going to have any Zoom tomorrow on Wednesday. Remember that is not a group Zoom day, just Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, but we don't have school on Thursday and Friday due to Thanksgiving break. All right, if you notice, today we will be looking at lesson 17, pages 220 and 221. So in order to get going and keep moving, I'd like you to get your real book out and your pencil, and we're going to go ahead and start. And remember, if you need to pause this, just put it on pause till you get the work completed in your real book, and then you can continue on. All right, so for today we're going to be looking at a text which is poetry, and we are going to be reading a poem by Walt Whitman. Now, today's goals, we are going to investigate the language of poetry and how to understand the meaning of a poem's word and phrases. So today we're going to unlock the language and beauty of Walt Whitman's moving poem in honor of the president he deeply admired. We will identify the imagery of Lincoln successfully steering a ship, the United States, through the Civil War, and the devastating loss of the ship's captain, President Lincoln. Now we're going to be reading the poem, "O Captain, My Captain." Now, Walt Whitman is often called America's poet. He was profoundly affected by the Civil War. He was crushed by Lincoln's assassination, and that's when he wrote, "O Captain, My Captain," while he was grieving. In this poem, Whitman portrays President Lincoln as a captain of a ship. Now, he literally wasn't a captain of the ship. This is going to be figuratively, and we are going to be talking about a metaphor and how this relates to this poem. All right, before we start, though, we do need to look at two vocabulary words. Our first word is voyage. A voyage is a long journey. I might say, I wonder if I will ever get the chance to go on a voyage to Australia. And a voyage is a long journey. It's not just a quick little trip. And I tried to put on here, a lot of times people who go on a voyage, they'll take a ship. Obviously, this is an old-time ship in this picture. Some people like to go on a voyage where they maybe backpack, and they maybe go to Europe and backpack. And then I have a picture of a map because that could take you anywhere in the world. So I want you to answer this question. What do you think would be an exciting place to take a voyage? So you'll complete this sentence. I think an exciting place to take a voyage is blank. Our second word is object. Now, this is going to be a little bit different word than what we have typically used the word for. In our workshop text, the word object has a different academic meaning. When we talk about an object, we usually talk about a thing that can be seen or touched. So again, for the purpose of this workshop, the word's going to have a different meaning. An object just really means the goal or purpose of a plan or activity. So go ahead and fill in that definition. The goal or purpose of a plan or activity. Now in this example, you're going to fill in the sentence, what is the object or purpose of a game you like to play? So the object of the game blank, and you'll fill in your choice, is to do what? What is the object or the purpose? Now, just to reiterate the word object, how it's used, I might say that a student might go to the library with the object of finding out about an exciting topic. Really, all I'm saying is that the student's goal or purpose is to find out more about that topic. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, but we want to do a couple things before we actually read the poem, "O Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman. So I want you to just look at how this poem is organized. So poets choose and use words very carefully to convey a strong emotion and create images in the reader's mind. They may not follow regular rules of capitalization and punctuation. Now I want you to notice we organize a poem. Remember, we don't just call them paragraphs, we call them stanzas. Okay. Now, when we read this article, or when we read this poem, I want you to be looking for 3 details that reflect Whitman's feelings. All right. So let's look at the key idea, what our purpose for reading is. How does the speaker in the poem feel about the captain? So as we read, we're going to think about how he feels, details that how's reflecting Whitman's feelings about Lincoln. So as we read, you can go ahead and underline those. I have tried underlining a few just in case you get stuck, so you can use those. Now again, as we read this, you're going to notice that the writer, that Walt Whitman, did not follow regular rules of capitalization and punctuation. So as we're reading through that, just go ahead and pay attention to that. And then again, that we know that we're going to be talking about stanzas or sections in the poem. And I want you to notice how they've used the Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3 to separate out the stanzas. They didn't use the numeric numbers 1, 2, 3, but Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3. Now again, I want you to be watching for the details that will help answer the key idea. All right, are you ready? All right, we're going to go ahead and read. "O Captain, my Captain. O Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The trip has weathered every wrack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But O heart, 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 O the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. O Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills, for you bouquets and ribbons wreaths, for you the shores a-crowding, for you they call the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear father, the arm beneath your head. It is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer, his lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm, he has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip the victor ship comes with object won. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I with mournful tread walk the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. Now you're going to notice that the rhythm of this poem is largely created through the line length. I want you to look at the poem. What pattern do you notice about the line length? And if you look, you'll notice the last 4 lines of each stanza are shorter than the lines above. And you'll also notice that the last 4 lines in each stanza all focus on sadness about the captain's death. Now, Whitman uses rhyme throughout the poem, but one rhyme repeats over and over again. I want you to look at the last word of each stanza. What do you notice? Did you see that all end with dead? So why do you think Whitman continually repeats the use of dead and words that rhyme with it? And maybe he's expressing grief and shock at the death. He wants readers to pay attention to this. All right, so we're going to do a second read, but before we do that, I want to review what a metaphor is. So a metaphor is a way of using language that identifies one thing as another. In this poem, when Whitman tells the story of a ship captain, he is really talking about President Lincoln. So writers, including poets, use metaphors to help convey their ideas. In this poem, the metaphor gets readers to feel the sense of honor and respect that Whitman had for Lincoln. Now, in this poem, Whitman doesn't use just one metaphor. He actually uses an extended metaphor. And this is when it is carried throughout the poem to tell a story of what happens to the ship and its captain or to Lincoln. All right, so we're going to look at lines 1 and 2, where it says, "The trip is done." That tells us that the captain and his ship's voyage is over. The ship has weathered very wrack, which means it has been through a difficult storm, and the prize we sought is won, means that the voyage achieved its object or its goal. So you'll see that the ship is the United States, which has just completed its fearful trip, the Civil War. The prize it sought, victory in the war, and the end of slavery was won, and all the thanks to the leadership of the captain, President Lincoln. Okay, now we're going to look at this quickly at the back, and then you're going to go ahead and finish pages 221. Whitman uses the extended metaphor to tell the story. You'll see in stanza 2, the people on the shore celebrate the return of the captain and his ship. This is a metaphor for Americans showing their appreciation for the victorious Captain Lincoln. So I want you to think about, how does this build on the first stanza? So think about how in that first stanza, the fearful trip is done. This tells what happens next. And then you'll notice in stanza 3 that it focuses on the death of the captain, serving as the end of the story. So what we're going to do now is I want you to complete the Analyze Extended Metaphor. Please remember to answer both questions in the section, who does the captain represent and what does the ship represent? And then on the very last thing to do is the react and write, where you can revisit stanza 2 to read the Dear Father reference in context. Because you're going to be answering this. Walt Whitman calls the captain Dear Father. What does this reveal about his feelings for the captain? So thinking about maybe love and respect, thinking about emotions that you have for a father, and maybe kind of respecting like their own fathers. We can, again, you want to reread stanza 2 for that reference. And then the last thing I want you to do is look at the slide for your to-do list for your tasks for today. And again, you can go through this. I don't have to read it. I do want to stress you need to get your software done. I will be checking this every day and sending emails if you don't get it finished. All right, I'm going to sign off before I have no more time left. And if you have any questions, reach out and ask.